This week's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Wow, hello everybody. Believe it or not, this is the third time that I've started this video today, and we keep going to an area thinking, oh yeah, that looks really good, and of course you get out the car and go for a bit of a hike, and it ends up it's not that good after all. So this is our third time, but I slammed on the brakes along this logging road here because we've come across some really great looking backlit mossy trees, which I know everybody likes. I certainly do. And Brian here, who's with me, Brian Barnham, he's not too sure about it. I think he was thinking that it might be a bit too busy. It is quite busy, but the backlit branches I think will really set it apart. The ferns in the bottom there have a lot of glare and you can't get rid of them. Doesn't matter how hard you try with a polarizer, it just doesn't work. So what I'm doing is just concentrating on the midsection there and just getting the 4 trees there with backlit mossy branches, and yeah, it's beautiful. So it's a nice shot to kind of start the afternoon, and hopefully we'll come across more stuff like this. At the time, I wasn't too keen on the glare coming off the ferns, but as I was processing these photographs, I actually quite like that glare on the ferns, because to my eye it adds depth. Something else to keep in mind when you're photographing scenes like this that are heavily backlit is that if you look at these 2 raw files here, they're slightly different. One has a lot more contrast than the other. And the one with slightly less contrast is the result of some clouds moving in and blocking that sun a little bit. So the light is a bit more subdued. And this is really helpful because what it enables you to do is take an image with both highlights and deep shadows, but still bring out slight details in both sides of the spectrum there. If you have really harsh contrast with bright sunlight backlighting this moss, it's very hard to control losing those highlights and getting detail in the deep shadows. So that's something to just keep in mind when you're photographing scenes like this. Ideally, subdued light is always a little bit better because you can always bring out those highlights with some dodging. If you lose the highlights, then nothing you do in Photoshop is going to bring those highlights back. So I took quite a few shots of the same thing while the light was pretty good, and of course now the light has disappeared, and as you can see, without any light, it doesn't stand out. I probably wouldn't be slamming on my brakes to take photographs of it. So it really was the light that drew me to the scene, not the subject so much.
And with these mossy trees, you really need some light on them, or a little bit of backlighting at least, to really bring that moss out and bring them forward. And that's what really attracted me. Bastard. I lost my train of thought.
I seem to be surrounded by class clowns. Once again, I'd like to thank Squarespace for supporting my channel and sponsoring this week's video. One of my favorite features of a Squarespace website is the ability to quickly and efficiently update a gallery or page either from a desktop computer or while on the fly using the Squarespace app from my mobile device. Loading multiple images onto a page is quick and offers the ability to change a design or page quickly and elegantly without any coding knowledge. Want to sell your products? No problem. Setting up shop is also quick and intuitive. Sound interesting? Why not head over to squarespace.com and try it for free? And if you like what you find, use the code AdamGibbs for 10% off your first purchase.
In the past, I photographed this with really green water. It's still quite green today, but not as green as usual, probably because there's quite a bit more water in here. It's got silt in it, and also there's no light on the shoreline on the opposite side, so that usually reflects into the river as well. So I've been hanging out here for a while now, and originally the light was, there was some nice light in the background, but now that the light or the sun has gone down behind some clouds, it's really evened out the light, and I'm starting to find some other compositions that I hadn't really thought of before. Now I'm not sure if they're going to work. They are panos, but what I'm doing here is I have the mossy trees in the foreground, and then we have the river, and then we have some nice autumn color in the background. And I'm trying to frame the yellow maple in the background between the two trees with the mosses. Now it is quite busy, but I think that's going to work. And I think in processing, I'll probably fade out the background just a little bit to try and give the image a little bit of depth. Not much, just a slight bit. Even when I look at it now, there isn't haze or mist in the background, but the foreground is definitely sharper and more contrasty, and the background has slightly less contrast. So yeah, I think this might work. 65 by 24, it's a very long pano. All right, not sure if this is working or not, but it looks pretty good on the back of the camera. So as you can see, I've tried to frame this tree in the background with these two gnarly looking big leaf maples in the foreground. The reason why I've put the tree over to the left a little bit is I didn't want it to merge with the yellow leaves on the right side. So I'm hoping that isn't going to look a bit odd. The yellow leaves on this maple over here are very close to these, but they aren't merging, so I should be able to just fade the tree out just a little bit in the background to give some depth to this. I think we took a wrong turning on one of the logging roads, got a bit lost, and it's kind of a good thing because we came across this wetland with these grasses and dead trees, and it's really quite beautiful. especially the grasses are all backlit. I'll just show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so we're probably getting a bit of lens flare here, but yeah, these trees right in here, beautiful. All the autumn colour is backlit. So I just walked past the car and you see there's some really lovely reflections here, and these grasses. Yeah, really nice area. So I took a photograph of the reflections of these dead trees, and I tried to get the grasses in. The problem is that you're including quite a bit of the sky, so I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but still, it's a lovely scene to look at, that's for sure.
Once again, folks, thank you ever so much for tuning into this week's video. Please be sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And as always, if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to hit that subscriber button. All right, until next week's video, bye-bye.